You're this perp back with another video, and I just got done watching the season finale of season one of From. This show has been incredible from start to finish. I think this was a perfect season. Now, where this is going to go, I have no idea, and I feel like that is the best part about this show. I love that every week everybody gets to speculate and just come up with different theories on what's really going on. Like, what are these creatures? Where are we really at? Is this a real place? Is this just like a government experiment? Is this an alien experiment? Is these some type of demons? Are we in some type of purgatory, some type of hell? What is really going on here? So many questions, but yet not any really clear answers just of yet, but it makes for a very compelling story overall. Lastly, I just want to say before I get into this review that I want to shout out to everybody that's been commenting and just been, engaging, and all the other YouTubers out there that cover From. And I'm pretty sure, I don't know if it's got greenlit for season 2, but if this series keeps going on, it's going to just get bigger and bigger, and I'm ready to see what they got coming soon. So with all that out the way, let's get right into this episode and how important I think going forward this episode will be. So Jade comes up with this idea because in previous episode he figured out that something to do with the wires. If we can gather all these different wires together from all these different appliances and stuff, we can really turn this whole town and stuff into one big, colony house into one big battery, so they can charge this tower, so they can get some type of signal or something out there. And it's a long shot, but it's worth trying out. And I really like Jade, man, because he really reminds me of Tony Stark in a lot of cases, just how he's able to kind of figure things out on the go, like just really quickly, but also comes off very cocky when he figures something out before Jim. And he likes to kind of take little jabs at Jim, even though I don't know if it's serious or it's just the competitive nature of what he does in the real world. I don't know. So that's their plan. Now back with Boyd and Sarah, where you saw in the previous episode, they were obviously dragged, but where were they dragged to? They obviously have no idea where they're at. I like this conversation that Sarah tries to have with Boyd, talking about, the worm and just what that means. And Boyd quickly changes the subject and talks about, like, if worms cut themselves in half, they'll become two worms. And she's like, what does that mean? It means worms are fucking creepy. And I agree, man. It doesn't matter. We need to figure out how we're going to get out here. So they get out of their tent and they're surrounded by spider webs. Now, I remember somebody in the comments, last week, they mentioned spiders in the credits, and I took the credits for granted because I feel like there's always a little bit of clues hidden in the credits, and it makes sense for why it's so damn long. But it's dope that other people have kind of put the two and two together with that. That's really dope. Back at the town, Jim and Jade has everybody kind of gathered around and pretty much says, like, look, we need you guys to go out and do this. We need this many people to do that. And if we can get all this done, we could probably get this tower up and ready to go. If anybody wants to just help, feel free to do so. I really like that. But also, Jade has to throw in little shots, and call Jim Teapot, which I don't know what that is like reference to, or that's trying to, like, he's just making up nicknames for people. But Julie didn't really like that. She confronts Jade about this. She'd be like, that's my father you're talking to. His name is Jim. You're gonna call him Jim. And Jade's like, all right, I understand. This is a good father-daughter moment. I'm gonna let you have that. But in return, I'm gonna stop calling him Teapot, but I'm gonna call you Sparkplug, which is hilarious. So then we get a scene of Donna back where I guess you can call it the sheriff's department, technically. Um, she's just looking at the map and just looking at all the different people that have come around from the different parts of the country, and she's still in doubt. Obviously, she just doesn't feel like this will work. Kenny is a little bit more hopeful, and we'll get into Kenny very shortly because, man, I really like Kenny in this episode. I feel like Kenny has proven himself to be a real top tier character, because we get this scene of Kenny approaching Christy with this globe that he used to have, this globe light he used to have during college, and it's a really nice little backstory on this little item, and he's just really warming up to Christy, and he pretty much says like, yo, when we get out of here, let's go somewhere. And obviously this is my biggest issue with Christy, because she's been playing games with Kenny, because we see a little bit more of her backstory, where she was talking about with Sarah, and how she's engaged, and how she doesn't really know how she feels about Kenny. She says she likes him, but she's engaged, which is like, yo, are you serious? And even Kenny in this moment kind of lets out a chuckle. I did too. I was like, are you serious? Do you know how long we've been here? You're still just holding on to that? I understand, I get it, but it's just like, come on, man. Then we get some interesting foreshadowing for Tabitha here, and she kind of comes across the bartender, and he's like, why aren't you helping out with just getting this tower ready? Because he's like, I already know it's not going to work. When people give their hopes up, they end up just coming back to the bar, so that's just my job. Now keep in mind, Tabitha has like this axe pick thing. Just keep that in the back of your mind. Now going over to another dope scene that I liked, we got Ellis, confessing his true loves, and proposing to Fatima, or Fatima, however you want to pronounce it. I gotta make that clear, because people just hate how I pronounce Fatima's name, even though, whatever, I'm not gonna get into that. I like this scene because, what I'm saying, at first, you see Fatima just like, she already doesn't like really fuck with this dude. Like, you could tell, like, just how it kind of started, but then when he started getting really deep and talking about, I want to be with you for the rest of my life type shit. I'll never forget that moment when I first saw you. Hit him with all the Shakespeare stuff, and you already know that in the back of her mind, I don't know if she's probably thinking about Julie, but Julie's gonna definitely feel some type of way about this. You could definitely believe in that. So he pretty much proposes to her and starts to say like, yo, your dad would be proud. And I definitely think that Ellis has kind of become more likable. I think he's kind of put his guard down a little bit. He's able to kind of make things right with his father. Hopefully, Boyd will be able to get back to him, but we'll have to wait and see in season 2, if there is a season 2. Speaking of which, this is where Boyd and Sarah continuously go through the forest with all this cobweb and everything, and Sarah's like, you think this is a really good idea? And Boyd's like, yo, we have no other option. We gotta do what we gotta do. But then he starts to hear Abby's voice and starts to see her all like caught up in this web, and it ends up being like this huge spider nest. The shit was nasty. It's nasty as fuck, bro. This huge spider nest, and some of them end up biting Boyd here, and it obviously is starting to play with his mind a little bit. He's starting to kind of go crazy, starting to kind of like lose hope, but Sarah is that, anchor trying to hold him down, saying like, no, look, do you want to see your son again? You got to keep going. You got to keep moving forward. I love it. Very Aaron Yeager-esque. I love it. But all jokes aside, I really think that Sarah is starting to redeem her character, which is helping out Boyd, trying to make things right with him and help him get through this. Now, there's some interesting details that a lot of people kind of picked on with just Victor, because they're getting ready to put this tower up, and Ethan starts to talk about, like, man, I wish Victor was here, that he could see this, but I understand he's playing his part. And obviously, when Jim hears this, he doesn't really think nothing of it. He's just, oh, the kid's very imaginary, like, oh, how cute type shit, but not really knowing that these two had a conversation. So that's interesting to me. Now, Jade goes off to get his rolling paper because he only has one left. But then it gets into one of my favorite scenes, I think, of this season, of this series so far. It's up there with, like, the whole story with Donna and how she lost her sister. It's up there, man. I really love how they explain people's backstory and how detailed they go into just telling that story. Now, the scene I'm talking about is the scene with Jade and Kenny's mom, and how he's telling Kenny's mom about how he lost his grandmother and how that was the closest person to him. He used to live in France for like about 12 years, and then he went to go live with his uncle in the States. And, you know, he tells Kenny's mom some very motivational stuff. It's just like, man, this shit is really hitting. Even kind of going through it the second time, like getting these clips and whatnot, it's just like, that is a really dope scene. And I feel like this is definitely an award-winning show just based off of scenes like that, where he says, no matter, they'll be with you even when you go. I think I'm paraphrasing. I think I got it right. But that was just a really impactful scene. I loved it. Every minute of it. It was dope. But of course, Jade had to come back, even though he had that nice little pep talk. It felt like he got a huge just sign of relief off his chest, and kind of brought relief to Kenny's mom and stuff. But he also has to be an asshole at the same time, where he says, like, yo, if anybody fucks this shit up, y'all go into the box. That shit was hilarious. Now, they're continuing to get things ready for this tower, and I like this little scene of Ethan and Jim having a little father-son moment, and Jim just showing Ethan how just everything works. And it's fascinating, bro. It's really dope. It's the little things about this show that I really like, the little attention to detail. So then we finally get, you know, Christy back into the scene, and she approaches Kenny about just kind of crushing his soul at first. Like, really, she really crushed his soul at first by just saying that, like, you completely friend zone this man. And she realizes that she messed up, that it was wrong, that she actually really likes him. And I was like, man, because you got to think about it. She's been there for a long time. There's no guarantee that they will be able to get home. Why are you worried about your fiance? She probably moved on by now at this point. That's what I'm thinking. But I like that Kenny was able to lock this down. Shout outs to Kenny. That's a really dope scene, and how that came back together. And, you know, they're always kind of exchanging things, and I liked how they kept that in there as well. It was really fucking really dope. And, man, give this show its flowers. Give it the Emmys that it deserves. That's all I gotta say. Now they're able to get the tower up and going. It works, but it gets kind of it gets kind of messed up, because now there's this huge storm cloud, the same storm cloud that's that, you know, Boyd and Sarah have to deal with. So obviously they're probably not that far away. We'll get into that, but there's a storm coming, so they're gonna have to still try to get some type of signal out there. Boyd and Sarah, though, they come across a lighthouse, so that's interesting. That's a whole new, you know what I'm saying, something there. That's interesting. I like that. But going back to Jim trying to get a signal. He gets a signal, and then it ends up being somebody that knows his whole name and knows his wife says, like, yo, she shouldn't be digging that hole. And then once he says that, she immediately gets to the bottom of this hole and cracks a huge hole in the basement, and she falls into this hole, and she sees fucking Victor there. And Victor says, yo, this is where they sleep. Let's get the fuck out of here. What do you mean this is where they sleep? You've known this the whole time and you don't tell anybody? You have some explaining to do, sir. Or that's just crazy to me that he has all this information, but he does not tell nobody till it happens. Oh my God. Whew. Anyways, the episode ends with Boyd kind of giving up and saying, telling Sarah, go on without me, the typical stuff. But she's like, no, we're going to keep going. The boy in white pops up, and that's the voice that she probably heard that she said earlier on in the episode. It's a different voice this time. And the boy in white points to one of the faraway trees, and Boyd gets in it, and this would be terrifying, just to get stuck in like what it looks like to be a chimney or something like that. Maybe it's the part of the lighthouse, who knows. But yeah, and then Jim comes home. He's too late. He sees a huge ass hole. He has no idea where Tabitha is, if she's in that hole. Obviously she is. She's with Victor now. That's a whole nother thing going on. Then you have a whole bus pull up, and that's how they end the episode. And I'm like, there's gonna be a whole slew of different characters gonna get slaughtered next season. I can't wait. And I always thought that it was interesting way of introducing new characters. Like every season you could have a new car come by, or some new characters come by, because they're definitely going to start rotating a lot of these characters out. If Boyd was to ever die down the line, he's alive, he survived. I'm surprised to see a lot of characters survive in this episode. I think a lot of people were expecting people to die in this episode, because that's how we've kind of been conditioned with certain finales and stuff that we've seen, like Walking Dead and whatnot. But it's interesting that they didn't kill nobody off in this finale. This was interesting, and it's interesting that they left those big major deaths in other episodes. That's very different. I'm looking forward to season 2. I definitely might have to do a prediction video maybe in the near future. Who knows? But let me know how you guys feel about this in the comments below. I know this was a long video. I appreciate everybody that has been checking out all my videos up until this point since episode 1. I'm looking forward to the next time we can do this again. Let me know how you guys feel about it. Man, until next time, I'll see y'all in the next one. Peace.